Hello again. It's been a minute. But welcome back to Anvil Side Chat with me, Jordan, here at Crooked Path Forge. It's been a busy 4 or 5 months, whatever the heck it's been. I feel like I haven't done one of these since like January, maybe, possibly even December. That time of year, really going from December into January, this year, February and March, sort of my busiest time. And it's just, takes a lot of mental brain space to think about what to say for these things, talk about them, find the energy to do it. And not physical energy, of course, I'm chock full of that. But the mental energy, sometimes I just go, nah, fuck it, I don't feel like it. Anyway, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit, right? Isn't that the saying? Anywho, you can see here in front of me, I've been working on some fun projects. These are items, that I occasionally make. I just had a big run on them. I have them on my website for sale. They're one of the few items that I have permanently in stock. Mainly because I can make them, fairly quickly, and they're popular enough that I want people to just get them and not custom order them. They're pretty uniform. Although you can see a little variation here. So, we'll talk about that in a second. But most people are going to ask, what the hell are these things, right? And they are economy plus sized butt plugs. No, just kidding. These are what's called a Flambadou. You can see there's a hole in the very bottom of these. They're a cone with a hole in the bottom, funnel shaped. These are made out of solid pipe, round pipe. And they're for cooking over open fires. There'll be a long handle that's added to them. And what you do is you put the cone end in the fire, right in the coals. And you want to get the bottom of that right at the end of the base. You want to get it nice and hot, just barely glowing red. And then you could put grease or oil, some kind of fat in the top. It's hot enough that it ignites, hence the name Flambadou. It's also pretty fun to say, Flambadou. It ignites, and the hot oil drips out of the bottom, out of the tiny little hole. All right? It's important to have a good, steady, even flow. Does that make anybody else want to have to pee? Kind of makes me want to have to pee. Anyway, that hot oil can be used to baste a larger cut of meat, if you're doing a roast or a turkey or something like that over an open fire. It can really dry out. So being able to baste it like this with hot oil especially helps to cook the meat. Other option for it is the hot oil itself. It's hot enough that it can cook things on its own. There you're talking about really thin pieces. A lot of shellfish, seafood, you can almost instantly cook with the hot oil. Really had a nice time making some shrimp cooked with bacon grease in some of these Flambadous. And just a beautiful little smoky flavor to those shrimp. And no other heat source needed but the hot oil. Works really well. Anyway, I've been making a bunch of them. This one's a variation on the shape. Just playing around with it. This one I will flare the top similar to those. Just haven't done it yet. Kind of got tuckered out as I was working today. And pipe is real tricky to forge, so that's been a fun learning process in making sure it retains its circular shape, keeping it fairly round. I like to have challenges, so that's good. What else has been going on? Well, the Bearded Brotherhood of Blacksmiths successfully had our annual ball, which included a visit from a gentleman by the name of David Baker and another gentleman by the name of Elmer Rausch. Two really well-respected blacksmiths, bladesmiths. Had a fun weekend with them as well as the rest of the Brotherhood. We ended up raising around $5,000 for the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. So that was an extra bonus as well. It was really good. Involved in all of that was one of our members, Jacob. His grandmother cooked 2 amazing meals, completely unasked for us. She just showed up with steam trays full of mac and cheese and coleslaw and fresh biscuits, and oh man, it was, I mean, she fed 30 people twice, didn't ask for a dime. We passed the hat around. She didn't accept it. She said, give that to the Cancer Foundation. We did. But what we're not going to let her do is reject the flowers we're going to make for her. So as a thank you, the Brotherhood is going to, each member has been tasked with making a flower and sending it to me. And then I'm going to make a vase or a vase to house those flowers. And what's great is these little Flambadous, right, which are only about 5 inches tall or so, we can scale this up to make a really attractive flower vase, you know. I probably won't get that narrow with the bottom, and very likely I'll weld a little circular plate so it has more stability. You know, the flowers are going to be top heavy. But, you know, I think it'll be a really fun project. The Brotherhood is getting together on a Friday evening for those members who do not have shops of their own or perhaps don't have the skills and want some, you know, a little help in making their flowers. We're going to have a hammer in at my teaching shop where we will make some flowers. So if you're interested in coming to that, shoot me a message, reply, or comment on this video. Even if you're not a member of the Brotherhood, but you want to make a rose to thank Jacob's mother or grandmother, yeah, shoot me a message and I'll tell you how you can help with that. I think I mean, you know, I like making old ladies cry, so that's probably what this is going to do. I did the Medieval Fair in Zephyr Hills, the Bay Area Renaissance Festival. We just got done with that a couple weekends ago. I did 3 weekends out of, they do it for like a month and a half. But it was fun. Learned some things. Started making miniature versions of my sort of signature blade, which is what I call a crookshank knife. So I might as well show you the full-size version. Right, which is something along the lines of this. Most folks would call it a blacksmith's knife. Anyway, I started making some little tiny versions. You know, they're never going to get sharpened. They're just like cute little keychains, trinkets. And that's where I got the idea from. A really fun tradition at the Bay Area Renaissance Festival is for people to bring trinkets. This is something that they've just done. And by they, I mean visitors. People who are just fans of the fair. People who just show up. Participants, I guess you call them, whatever it is. Patrons, that's the word. But they just show up with little bags full of like glass beads or tiny little rubber duckies or just little gewgaws, little trinkets, little tchotchkes, as my mom would say. And they trade them around with people. You know, you meet someone, you have a nice conversation. Hey, you want a trinket? Here you go. Just as simple as that, just a fun way to kind of trade a little something or other. So I thought these would be fun little trinkets. Of course, they're a little more, fancy, or not fancy, but they take a little more effort than just buying a handful of, plastic army men or whatever someone else might hang out. So, I just made a few as I was working and handed them out. Sold them to a few people who wanted that. But that was fun. Really great festival. Did it with brother Robert Graber. Had a great time. Thank you to him for letting me crash on his couch. That was very helpful. What else has been going on? Well, I'm getting ready to go to the Blade Show again, just as a participant, just as a patron. We're not going to be. I'm not going to be there selling my knives. To be honest, I'm a little nervous about that prospect. Right now, like in Florida especially, I'm not the biggest fish, certainly, by even a little bit of means. But in the shows I do, in the places I hang out, I am, one of the more well-known knife makers, blacksmiths, bladesmiths. People, are referred to me when other folks maybe can't do a job or it's not their specialty. They're sent to me because they don't do knives or whatever. I'm trying not to toot my own horn here, but I guess there's no need to beat around the bush. I'm a large to medium sized fish in a very small pond in the circles that I travel in. And going to the Blade Show in Atlanta, which is the gathering of the best bladesmiths in the entire country, right? Unlike what Forge and Fire might think, all the best bladesmiths are on that show. There's a lot that don't go on that show. There's a lot that do. There's some very fine bladesmiths that do. But anyway, the Blade Show is I will become a very small fish very quickly in a very large pond and in an ocean. And it's not my ego that I'm worried about. Like, Lord knows, my ego's been crushed and turned into a tiny little ball of tinfoil a long time ago. It is simply the fact of the matter that I'm concerned that my knives will not sell. And to put all the work that goes into doing a show, and especially the expense of that Blade Show, it's around $700 for a table. So that means, 2, 4, 6, 8. I need to make 4 knives minimum. I got to sell 4 knives minimum to break even-ish on the show itself, not to mention the hotel room, right? Which is maybe another knife a night, right? So from 4 to 5 to 6, maybe 7 knives I have to sell just to break even. And, the amount of time it takes for me to make a knife, the amount of effort it goes into building up an inventory, that's a big deficit, right? Like, I'm used to maybe 1 or 2 knives to break even at an event. 7 knives is tough. Then you have to say to yourself, well, then you just make more expensive knives, right? And I can do that. I can make some Damascus blades. I can make some Damascus axes. I can make some really nice stuff. But because I don't have a name, I am not a famous maker. I will be a small fish in an ocean. And I don't know that in that venue, all that effort will be equal to a sale of a knife, because there's going to be way nicer knives there than anything I could ever hope to make. And it's not, and I'm not saying that to say I don't make good shit. I make fucking great shit. But, there's always, I'm not Babe Ruth, right? I'm a decent baseball player. I'm making a living at it, right? I'd be a good minor league jobber player, right? I'm fine. I'm happy with that. I feel like I'm living the dream. But there are people who have increased their game and increased their skill level and increased their equipment and training and all that other bullshit. And they are operating just, on a different level. And it's not a level I have either decided to go to or desire to go to or am able to go to. It's a kind of a mix, I think, of all three. I'm rambling a lot now, aren't I? It's okay. There's a lot to get out of my noggin. An interesting thing that happened at the medieval fair, and this is going to probably be the topic of the next, or maybe the one after that, Anvil side chat. But I had a really great conversation with some people. A guy brought me up a blade that he was given that was made from Damascus. And, he just wanted to know the quality and is this a good blade? Is it not a good blade? And I see a lot of blades like that. People show me a lot of stuff, and you just never know. This knife was Pakistani imported garbage, what folks call Pakamascus, right? And it's not the people of Pakistan are fine folk. I've got no problem with them. They're trying to make a dollar and make a living as well, but they are importing. Traditionally, it's been Pakistan specifically that has been forging and creating really terrible knives out of Damascus, very low quality Damascus. I am skeptical if they're even using tool steel. In general, they are not heat treating these blades. And they are sometimes not even Damascus. They're just etched in such a way with acid to make it look like Damascus. Anyway, I want to do a video sort of showing you how you can spot these kinds of blades. I had the conversation at the fair about it, and I was showing this guy, okay, this is what you want to look for. And about 5 or 10 people stopped and came over and asked questions, and it seemed to be something that the public was interested in being educated in, which was surprising. I think a lot of people, they don't know, and it is sometimes hard to look if you don't have an eye for it. It's hard to know what's good quality, what's bad quality. So I think that'll probably be a video I'll be doing here soon. There is definitely plans to do a testing video. I'll probably do it with an axe. So I'll buy, there's some real garbage axes out there. Anything that somebody is saying, and this is, if you don't see the video that will happen, you should. But if you don't, and you're just seeing this one, basically, if the knife is under $100 and it is supposedly made out of Damascus, there's a scam happening there, right? There's something going on. If there's an axe or a knife, even if people are just saying, oh, it's hand forged, this is a hand forged knife and it's under $100, I would be extremely skeptical of that, right? At the best, it is hand forged, but it's hand forged by somebody working slave labor in a third world country, and I don't know that I feel comfortable supporting that, right? If I knew the guy at the end of it was getting a decent paycheck, right? The artist who was actually forging the fucking axe or the knife or what have you was getting a decent paycheck, then I would be all right with it. I would say, look, it's not American made, so maybe that's a reason not to get it. But fuck, I buy shit from China. We can all make decisions in different ways, but now I am rambling. But anyway, they're garbage knives anyway. The quality is not there, and that all has to do with economics, I guess. really. I think I'm done rambling. Is there anything else going on? My apprentice Zori is working out really well. That's great. I've got this gig that is bringing in some larger dollars. It's a lot of work, but it may step Crooked Path Forge, it may step my blacksmithing career up a notch. Working with Jacob on that. Well, you know, when I am allowed to speak about it in unveiled terms, you'll be on the list of folks who hear about it. I think that's it. This is also kind of spring cleaning time for me in my shop, so I've done some here. I'll be doing some more at the other shop. Every year I try to pick, around this time, after my busy time, to step back, take a breath, reorganize. We'll see. Oh, and I'll be teaching some Damascus classes pretty soon here. In the next few months, I should be starting those up. So keep an eye out. Stay safe, keep hammering, all that fun shit. Later.